course. This is Seb for Evolve TV. We're here at London Bridge with Sule. Sule, a couple of days ago, there's some tragic incidents in Manchester. We're getting young people's perspective on whether or not it will change how they go to these events for themselves, and music events, sporting events. Will it change how you go to them?
No, not necessarily for me. I don't think. I think it is a really tragic event, a horrific event. And I think it will have an impact for young people in general across London and across the country as a whole. But I don't think it should. I don't think it should deter us or stop us from attending events. Or
why shouldn't it?
Because I think there's strength in unity, and we have to fight back and be defiant and show solidarity and show that we can continue and we can be strong and we can move on, and these things shouldn't affect our way of life.
We've seen that in Manchester already with such sort of social support, and on the night taxi drivers were giving people free rides home, and it's great to see. But do you think there needs to be more done to stop these attacks happening in the first place? What more, would you like to see anything different in terms of in London when you go to these events? Would you like to see more security? What do you think can be done to stop these?
Yeah, no, I definitely think we can take more precaution. We can have more security measures in place. But I also don't want to see young people feel as if they are being interrogated or harassed or searched and so on. And so I think we live in a very democratic country, and we're lucky because of that. That we don't feel constantly under pressure, under threat. We had a real issue with young people, particularly around stop and search, and I'd hate to see that come back again, and young people to be felt as if they're being kind of negatively stereotyped or looked upon as a threat in any way. And again, not just young people, but people of faith as well.
Because that's what they want us to do. That they want us to change how we live our lives and to start sort of questioning each other and fighting each other. But in terms of the security, the government have announced that 5,000 army troops are going to be positioned in cities around the UK from today to support the police. Is that something that would make you feel more or less safe to see army soldiers on the streets?
No, I don't. Seeing most soldiers on the street for me wouldn't make me feel safe.
It wouldn't.
I'd feel as if there's a real issue. As I think for most people, seeing the presence of the army would imply that there's something to be fearful about. And something to panic about, because in kind of other scenarios or other countries, and I've travelled around the world, where I have seen the presence of the army and so on, it's always been because there's rebels around, or there's an imminent danger or threat looming. And to kind of see that around London Bridge, for instance, people might think that there's bombs around, and it might make people fearful about coming to this area.
Well, they are on the streets today. They've been put in London today. So around sort of Westminster, around Buckingham Palace, you'll now see soldiers around. It's only until the threat level, because it's at its highest now, critical. I think when it gets moved down again severe, that the soldiers should go. But do you think a lot of it is to do with how the media portray these events as well, how they cover these events? Do you think they're given too much coverage? For example, the policeman who was killed outside Westminster, some people were saying that although it was terrible, it should be treated in the same way as any other stabbing in London, which doesn't have weeks of media coverage, because that's what these people want to see. Do you agree with that?
No, I think there are unique scenarios and there are particular issues. Knife crime is a huge issue across the borough. It's a huge issue across London. But here where we are as well in Southwark, it's an issue as well for young people and people of all ages. And I think there are different ways of dealing with different communities and different levels of attacks as well. And so I think the approach that you might take for a police being stabbed would be different to the approach that you might take for a young person in a local community being stabbed.
So the media should cover that as much as they do and treat it as a separate incident.
Yeah, I mean, knife crime as a whole is one incident. It's one issue that needs to be dealt with in a very specific way. But I do think, bringing light, as much exposure to what's happening locally in the community and how that's affecting young people in deprived backgrounds, predominantly, is also important to highlight. Because and it should get as much spotlight so that people can be made aware of this. That it's not just a particular issue, and people shouldn't just kind of stand up and say, you know what, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Only when it happens to police, but it should be unacceptable across the board when it happens, whether it happens to anyone, whether it's a young person, elderly person, regardless of what ethnicity or
You should
age
get the
you
same
are.
amount or the same level of coverage.
No,
yeah.
definitely, yeah.
I mean, the media always, and there seems to be a lot of interest and fascination in the identity of the perpetrator themselves, and they get a lot of media coverage. Would you like to see that reduced? I mean, personally, I don't see the need to have such blanket coverage over the person, their identity, where they come from, who they were, because it takes away from the victims, it takes away from the incident itself, and it gives them what they were hoping for.
Yeah.
You know, but what do you think about that?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think you know, we shouldn't give spotlights to perpetrators. You know, and some of them, that's what they want.
Yeah.
For some of them, their ambition, their end goal is to have that 15 minutes of fame. You know, to be recognized. You know, to go out as a martyr.
Yeah.
In any way possible. And so, giving them that spotlight and focusing on what they're doing. Is really counterproductive. Really, what we need to focus on is the impact that it's having on the community and the impact that it's having on the lives of the people who are suffering, the victims, and the wider community as well.
Yeah.
And so, kind of giving more emphasis on that and focusing on that, hopefully, will be able to build empathy in our communities and allow people to relate to that situation more than creating hate, really. Because I think if we focus on the negative aspect of it, people focus on that, and in turn you start to hate that person,
Yeah.
and that becomes your focus. You know, this is the criminal, this is the person that we're criminalizing, who's plastered all over the front pages of the newspaper.
And it makes people judge other people and look at other people as, and think things about them. Do you think, I mean, Manchester as a community has really come together after this. Do you think that's something that will... It's a shame that it seems to happen after these tragic events. It's something that governments need to, and councils need to focus on more of community integration to prevent these things happening. Do you think that would have an effect?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that the government can do, a lot that the councils can do, but I also think there's something around social responsibility. I also think that each of us, every single one of us, can play a role in making a difference, and doing more. And you know, a lot of times incidents happens around crime or knife crime particularly, and it takes a long time or it takes a lot of effort to get the community to kind of come forward and say, I saw what happened, and you know, this is what we're doing to make a difference or to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And I think that for as long as people feel safe within, you know, hidden within their community, it will continue to happen.
Right.
And I do think the most important thing for me, from my perspective, is around social responsibility. You know, what can we do as individuals to contribute to the efforts of reducing knife crime or stopping it altogether?
Yeah. Okay, great. It's been great to talk to you.